My goal in entering into the business world was to try to figure out how to surround myself with successful people. With that, I remember, like middle of the season, late in the season, I was like, man, I've got to figure something out. So if things aren't working, whether it's business or personal life or sports, whatever it is, you got to adapt because everything else is adapting around you. Right?
Yep.
That was one of the most attractive things of coming to work at Biggs Financial, is because of how your much success, but also too like the icing on the cake is working with you, Jamel, Taylor, and,
Sure.
and that environment, that family atmosphere that we have, which we're so thankful for. But I think the biggest thing for me was, man, like Mark's crushing it, and Mark's now on his own. Mark's not going anywhere. He's young, and so it's so attractive for me to want to be a part of that.
Sure.
And also create my own path.
To another point, though, like that's why being the number one, I don't think is for everyone.
Sure.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own path to carve if they're in the right environment.
Pressure is a privilege in 100%. That capacity. So
absolutely.
And if you get scared of that, then it can be a challenge.
And that's what I think is the beauty of that, and allowing you, Jamel, whoever's next, once again, to just kind of flourish your own career into whatever you want it to be.
That's it.
Because everybody's got different goals and aspirations and all that. And going back to where you were talking about the authenticity thing, that hit home with me because
The Mark Biggs Show.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Mark Biggs Show. Super excited to have one of my best friends on the show today and somebody I get to work alongside with each and every day. Like I said, just one of my best friends has turned into a brother, to be honest with you, and just super excited to have you on the show. And
Thank you, bro.
Not really sure where this is going to go, to be honest, because all this is off the cuff, but I'm excited to see where it goes. I think Jackson can offer you guys a lot of insight. Just like all the guests that we try to provide some type of value to you all based off of, their life experiences, our life experiences, those types of things. So, Jackson, super excited to have you, bro.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. I want to start off saying it's pretty cool to see this come to life for you. I know you worked hard. I think the world of you. That. So it's just cool to see you, because you talked about this vision of having this podcast for, 2 years probably?
Yeah.
A year, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool. Yeah. So it's cool to see that. I love listening to him, so just want to let you know I'm proud of that. So
thank you.
That every
I
day.
appreciate that. But he's right. This is something that I've had on my mind for, and I may mention this in a previous episode, for a couple years now. But it's one of those things too, to where it takes concerted time and effort to block off the time to do it. To have people in your corner like Nick that'll help make it what it is, and those types of things. So it takes a level of commitment that I didn't want to even start until I knew that I could. Not that I didn't want to before, but I knew in my mind the time wasn't right. Just from a commitment standpoint.
Sure.
So now it's one of those things where I feel like if I don't continue to prepare and do those types of things, I'm letting myself down, letting, the few people that listen and hopefully take something from it, letting them down, letting Nick down, those types of things. So that puts I think I do a little bit better under pressure. So it helps add to that. Jackson, so tell me and tell the folks here just the 10,000 foot view of you growing up, a little bit about yourself, your background, those types of things.
My whole life I always had like sports as like my go-to, growing up, you and I both relate to that so much, but growing up, went to Bowling Green High, graduated, had the ability to go play baseball at WKU, tore my elbow, which was a whirlwind of a year.
What year was that?
2014.
Was that
so my
sophomore year?
Yep.
Old TJ.
That's right. So that was a really challenging year for me. I grew a lot, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually too. But then kind of fast forward, I played 5 years because I had the extra year eligibility. Went to school to be in sales, but really and truly, when you're in ball, this, like you don't know what you want to do when you grow up.
No,
you don't.
Because ball's at the forefront of your mind at all
times. So it's like whatever you're doing at that time, that it's like, okay, I'm focused on this right now. I'm going to be all in and do the best that I can with what I've got. But
it goes back to the other thing, like I just mentioned about letting people down. Like
that's it.
When you have a full team locker room full of guys that are going to war with every day,
100%.
You're
all in.
That's the only thing you're thinking about.
100%. So went to school for sales, kind of to backtrack, and my goal in entering into the business world was to try to figure out how to surround myself with successful people. And so with that, I went into insurance sales as a broker for about 6 years. I interned there, had a good, strong 6-7 years in that field, but I didn't have a passion and love for that.
Sure.
And it kind of grew out of that. and then switch, through our conversations with traveling and growing up as brothers, with hanging out all the time, and just the opportunity presented itself to come work with you. And man, it's been so life-changing for me and my family, and it's been such a blessing, because it's meshed not only friendship and brotherhood, but something I've truly found a passion in.
Sure.
And helping people, and dealing with finances. I've always loved numbers. I felt like I've always been pretty good at it.
That's for me, like, just like not hawking you from your previous job, but also
Sure.
like just through conversations, knowing how your brain works, how your mind works, like, and knowing that you're a good-hearted person and you care for people. I knew those two things would blend well with what it is that we do, because the little success that I've had in what I do is from those things.
That's it,
like,
yeah.
I'm like you, my mind works, financially driven, like numbers make sense, which obviously is probably a good thing for people that manage
We
people's
got to
money.
have that, yeah.
But, also on top of that, you got to be able to learn things, figure things out. But at the forefront of that is caring for the person that's sitting in front of you. That's why
That's
I knew
number one. Yeah.
you would fit into kind of the model, the way things work.
Yeah, and that's what I learned kind of walking into business, because when you get out of school and you walk into the professional field and you try to figure out how to make a living for yourself, you've got to be able to understand that people are everything. That relationships are everything. And so back to that point, switching to industries and switching careers, even though it's a natural progression and transition, I still had to surround myself with good people.
Sure.
And successful people. And it's not like kind of ride the coattails, so to speak. It's more of, okay, let's figure out what the successful people do.
Sure.
Why are they good at it? And you can kind of alleviate and kind of bypass all the stuff that didn't work.
Oh, well, I mean, think about it. I mean, I was at a previous business that did not exactly the same, but very, very similar in
Sure.
most of the things that we do. And so it's no different than that.
Yep.
When I came out on my own, there was so many things that Ron had done that was a success, that had done great things for he and his family, and so many people that he served and continues to serve as his clients. So it's like, you're not necessarily trying to reinvent the wheel.
That's it,
But
right.
it's like, how do I sharpen it a little bit and make it better and continue to stay on that path?
And that's the key. And I think that's the biggest challenge I put on myself internally, was how do I take the things that successful people have done, and what's any career field, right?
Yeah.
If they do these things successfully, how and why, and then at the same time, how can I make it my own flair?
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, people want authenticity.
Of course.
And so people want you to be you. Because I expect when people sit in my chair and have clients, I want them to be you, or them. I want them to really be transparent.
From our side of the desk, it allows us to actually, to your point, be ourselves, but also do the best job for them if they are comfortable enough to be themselves in front of us.
Yeah.
And so you could take that all the way back to baseball, even talking about chasing what successful people do and their habits and how they do things. Do you think that your sports upbringing plays a role into the success you had at your previous career and the success you're having now? Like, do you think the two somehow mesh with each other?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think with sports, it's such even though it's, when you get to college and for pro, there's an individual aspect to it, but it's a team game, right?
Sure.
So it's like you gotta contribute and do your things, but the work that you put in, whether it's training, traveling, lessons, all that stuff with baseball and sports, football too, all the stuff and all the grunt work that you do and training and all that stuff, it creates perseverance and character.
Sure.
And with that creates a sense of hope that you can be successful at what you're going to do. So
I think you have to have that grit in any type of, whether it's sales, commission driven,
anything
that's incentive based.
Sure.
I feel like you have to have that, because there's those days that you just get kicked in the teeth. You have this account you think you're about to close, and everything's kosher. Then the last minute, we decided to not do it. We're going a different direction. You never speak to them again.
Can't ever.
And there's nothing you may have done, or you may have done something you didn't know about, whatever.
Out of your control.
But you have to be able to swallow that pill, go home,
even when it's tough,
flush it,
yep,
and come back the next day. And I say flush it because I'll never forget flashing back to let's see, this was Lansing, 2015. We had a guy that was he was a stud of a player. He was a Mexican kid and came over here at 16, pitched, and he worked his way up all the way to the big leagues and got some saves in a World Series for the Astros. all those things. Great dude.
Stud, huh?
Stud. So he gives up a home run to this guy from Lake County.
Like, flush it, Poppy.
The guy hits it 6 miles. No, he comes in the dugout after the first inning, slams his glove in the toilet, and kicks it flushed it.
Oh, my word.
And then just grabbed a position player's glove, went back out and shoved the rest
I'll
of the
take
thing.
your glove, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing. He literally flushed his glove. I'll never forget that my entire life. He kicked it like 5 times in the dugout and flushed it.
Love it.
And then used some random guy's glove to pitch the rest of the time and shoved and did a great job.
I don't know how his mind even went there to physically flush it. You know, most people just launch it and like, you know.
It's like a blind rage, you know. But like the thing is, I've had so many of those moments too in baseball where you just get kicked in the teeth.
Oh.
I mean, and it's just.
And you might have made a good pitch.
You may have had your best stuff. You're out there dealing.
But that guy just absolutely put a swing on it, and now you're turning your neck.
I had one time we were playing Great Lakes, and it was a middle relief game that I had to come in and throw 3 innings. First 2 innings, 6 up, 6 down, 4 strikeouts. I'm like, you know, my chest is popped out.
Yeah.
I'm like cruising around the mound, no problem. Get the first guy out in the 3rd inning, and then the freaking wheels fall off. And I give up like a 3-run homer. Guys are throwing the ball around. It's a snowball fight. I had like 2 and 2/3 and like 5 earned after those 2. And it's just like you sit in the dugout. I remember sitting in the dugout, like I just flicked my hat up on top of my head. And I was like,
what'd I do?
What just happened?
Yeah. I had the exact same thing happened to me when I was a freshman, my first start ever as a freshman. And you're nervous as a cat,
course.
You know, like, so it was at Belmont, freezing cold, you know, but college baseball starts in February.
Yep.
So it's usually raining and cold or snowing. And 3 up, 3 down, all 3 strikeouts.
You're like,
I'm like, this is college baseball. College baseball. I'm back in my high school days, you know.
It.
Guess what happened the next inning? I gave up like 5 or 6, and I figured out later on they picked my pitches.
Oh,
I gave up 1 hit, a single up the middle, that got him first because now I'm in the stretch, and all of a sudden they could see him, and I gave up 5 runs. Like what? And later on I found out.
Yeah, so you make the adjustment.
But back to your point, you know, it kind of triggered a memory too. When I was a freshman, I had a rocky season. You know, I threw like 13, 14 innings. We had like 25, 26 pitchers. And so I had a decent start, a bad start, decent start. It's just I never could catch a groove.
Yeah.
And so I was a basic fastball, changeup, curveball guy. Changeup was not that good. I mean, I lived off my fastball. Yeah. And so with that, I remember, like middle of the season, late in the season, I was like, man, I've got to figure something out. So if things aren't working, whether it's business or personal life or sports, whatever it is, you got to adapt because everything else is adapting around you, right?
Nope. Always changing. Even if you're doing well.
That's it. You got to think about college athletics in today's world. Those coaches have to adapt to how they recruit and all that.
100%.
But with that point, I remember going to a couple of the guys, Tim Beto specifically. I remember going to him and be like, hey, man, like, how do you use a lefty? Like, how do you hold your, like, curveball? Like, and I was thinking about how they manipulate a baseball and, like, show me your grip because this is how I throw it, and I'm not having much success with it. What do you do? So, again, back to that point, I've always kind of, like, my gut has always told me, go to people that are doing it well at what they do and find a way to figure it out for yourself. You know, like figure out what works for them. Okay, then apply it to you. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, then tweak it.
That's it.
And so back to that point, that memory sticks in my head of surrounding myself with successful people and kind of a full circle moment. That was one of the most attractive things of coming to work at Biggs Financial is because of how your much success, but also too, like the icing on the cake is working with you, Jamel Taylor, you know, and that environment, that family atmosphere that we have, which we're so thankful for. But I think the biggest thing for me was, man, like Mark's crushing it and Mark's now on his own. Mark's not going anywhere. He's young. And so it's so attractive for me to want to be a part of that, you know, and also create my own path, you know, and tweak things how I feel like may work for me just based on my personality, how I view things. But yeah, it's just
selfishly, like that's one of the things that I kind of take pride in my side of it is allowing like you, Jamel, and whoever's next as far as like being advisors or whatever, you kind of like you said, you create your own path. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We have kind of a general idea
playbook,
of what we do and how we do it, but it's not like you have to be here at this set time. You have to do all these different things. There's certain parts of the business if you don't want to touch, don't touch.
You're your own boss in your own little.
That's it, and that's what I think is the beauty of that, and allowing you, Jamel, whoever's next, once again, to just kind of flourish your own career into whatever you want it to be.
That's it.
Because everybody's got different goals and aspirations
100%.
and all that. And going back to where you were talking about the authenticity thing, that hit home with me because I listened to Gary Vaynerchuk so much. Gary V. I was listening to him this morning on the Stairmaster even. Like, I listened to him so much, and there's so many things about the way that he operates that's at least we can see. You know, I assume he's probably the same person behind closed doors as he is on all these because he's everywhere. But the way that he's gone about it and shown that, like, it's okay to be different. It's okay to try things and fail.
Sure.
It's okay to not worry about what people think. Those types of things have resonated with me so much. And so that was one of the things going into the podcast for me is like, I don't want to just be regurgitating the same stuff
info
that he is saying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is so many things that I've taken from people like that I've literally listened to his podcast and his YouTube show for probably 9 or 10 years. And he's evolved over time, but like he's still himself, which is what I really appreciate. But there's so many things that I think I can take and put out that so many people don't hear that have come from him. Most of it being you can carve your own path. You don't have to do the status quo. It's okay to switch careers. It's okay to fail
Take
at
the
something.
risk.
Yeah. Because, and so many people think that like, if I get in this one spot or if I fail at this one thing, my professional life is over. And they may be 30 years old. We're going to live hopefully to we're 90 or 100.
You
so
got
like
your business career, you got another 30 years.
That's what I'm saying. And some people ask like, well, what's your goal with the podcast? And it's like, I don't have like a true,
and that's okay.
I hope this is the epic mountain moment.
Right.
I don't have that. But like at the same time, I think it's cool to like have these conversations and people to see other people that are in the community and there'll be guests that are not from here, but like that have just such different experiences that hopefully like it pushes people to do something different.
100%.
Right. And that's like one of the things that I respect most about you is the fact that if you just looked at yourself and your personality on a sheet of paper,
Mm-hmm.
I would have never pegged you to make the career change.
Sure.
So for you to be able to internalize and be like, you know what, even if I fall flat on my face, I feel like this is a risk worth taking. Like I respect that so much because so many people just won't do it.
Yeah.
And obviously you've taken it and ran with it because that's just who you are. And like, I knew that would be the case, but like at the same time, so many people would have just stayed there because, and I don't know if there's a lot of things that go into that because we've talked about it before. I think our parents' generation is just a different mindset, right? The world's different. They were brought up different than we were, those
More
types of things.
Yep.
But at the same time, I just want to encourage so many people, like whether it's a career change, whether it's whatever it is,
promotion internally within their job.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, what do you have to lose?
That's it.
Or like somebody wanting to start a side business or start a side hustle or go do something for themselves on the side, whatever. What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
You know, and that's the whole thing that I think like seeps from these types of shows.
Hopefully
like,
generates or settles in.
That's it. Like you can be different. You can do your own thing. And if you fail, who cares?
And so what?
No one, like truly, and Gary Vee says all the time, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Because they got their own stuff going on.
I was about to say, that's what I was going to say about this is like all the podcasts that you've done, I pulled my own, call them nuggets, whatever, from something, but I've related to each and every single one of them some way, somehow. And I know that's the same with all the other audience that it might not be sports. It might not be, finances. It might not be just entrepreneurial type stuff. But at the end of the day, you can piece like, okay, this person had a challenge and this is how they overcome it.
And that's the challenge for me is like continuing to put out stuff that number one is not repetitive in the same thing over and over, but also not the same questions over and over because they don't want to hear the same thing. But also like, hopefully the theme of it is like, you don't have to be an entrepreneur. You don't have to be a business owner, but like you can still do stuff differently and have a better life.
You can have any type of job and apply it, because everyone's going through their own situation at home, in their personal life, business, whatever it is, their family relationships. So there's so many things that people have that go through, and at the end of the day, back to your point, like no one giving a crap about.
They don't.
At the end of the day, people look at it, and then 5 seconds later, they already forgot what they're even thinking about. But they're thinking about their own situation. So
and that thing could live inside of you the rest of your life, but you were worried about what one person said, so you never did it, and it goes to the grave with you. Like that could have been something that changed somebody's life.
Man, life's too good and too sweet and too short to worry about what the heck other people think.
I had a dude text me, and I've had multiple people text me like randomly about just different stuff that they resonated with, and like I appreciate that so much.
Sure.
But like one guy was like, he called me and he was like, you could tell he was like emotional. I could hear him. And he was like, dude, I just want to say thank you. He was like, I needed that push today. And I was like, holy smokes. Like, I've never felt that like from this type of thing in my life. Like, because those moments for me in business, people ask all the time, like, how are you so motivated? How are you so driven? Like, what, blah, blah, blah. It's just, it's not money. I love making money just like everybody else does. It makes your life easier. It doesn't solve all your problems.
It's the impact you have on people.
100%. But like feeling someone like
appreciate
when they come in and they're like, you really helped me do this. Like, I appreciate that so much. Whether it was a conversation or whether it was like a client that paid for our services, either one. Some are paid, some are not.
Yep.
When they just appreciate what you've done for them, that is what like pushes me
That's
forward.
it. And that's, I think too, back to like the whole investment side, where it's taxes or investments, whatever it is for us, that's the most satisfaction I get. I don't care what else is there to get outside of that. Obviously, money you talk about, but that's always, if you put that on the back end,
You're gonna get paid.
That's it. You're gonna get paid. But the investment side of knowing it's a good instrument for them, or tax planning, you save them.
It fits for them.
It fits for them. It's a good solution for them, and them to verbalize it to you, say, hey man, I appreciate that, or what you've done, this is awesome. Like that sits. So that motivates you. It's like golf swing, right? When we both
you
suck
flush
at golf.
that one.
We suck at golf.
100%.
Like, hey, and Nick, you're obviously a lot better than us, but you take that. You have what? How many shots in a golf match you have?
For me, it's like 110. For Nick, it's like 75.
So, but you have that one that brings you back. But like that same thought process, that comment that people make, if just verbalizing and showing their appreciation for you, that literally is what motivates you to get up the next day and be like, hey, I got to go get that again. You know what I mean? So.
As far as one thing, and I know we kind of hit on this. We had we do like our little roundtables each week and stuff, but this was something I thought was cool. What would you say is the one thing about baseball and sports in general that you miss the most? Because I think that's a solid question.
Coming in, I was a starter pitcher, right, and there's a reliever, starter, closer, all that good stuff. But then I transitioned ultimately in my career after Tommy John surgery to be a closer. And there is no better feeling to have the coaches, the players, confidence and trust in you to go close the door.
Yeah.
And when you got, especially when they get a runner on and they're trying to stretch the bullpen guys,
Yep.
To go a little bit longer and maybe save my arm or whoever. But to come into a game when there's like a runner on second and you're up by 1 run or 2 runs and you got like their 3 or 4 hole guy coming up and they bring you in and that walkout song comes on.
Because they trust you to
They
do
trust you. At the end of the day, it's like that whole buildup of anticipation. Yep. But the whole like underlying theme of that's competing.
Oh yeah,
like that's
juices
it,
start
man.
flowing.
Like you can't like that. I don't care if there's 2 people in the crowd. It's February 11th. You know
I
what I mean?
I told you this before, but I heard Clay Holmes when he was the closer still for the Yankees this summer. Nick was at that game. He walked out to White Horse by Chris Stapleton in Yankee Stadium on a
talked
Saturday
about that.
or a Friday afternoon.
I said that.
Oh my gosh!
Can you imagine?
I get goosebumps just talking about it.
So that like whole just experience situation,
you're just amped up.
Dude, there's nothing like it. And so I think just the competing aspect of it, Jamel hit it on the other day. I thought it was perfect too. Like the brotherhood aspect of it, that's a huge piece too.
We
kind of have that.
But we have that, and we can replicate that just because of the relationship that we have, you, Jamel, and I, and being able to do that in what we call our locker room setting still gives you that outlet where you can just be yourself, be authentic. You don't have to be anything besides yourself. You're not getting recorded. You're not if you got to vent some frustrations, those are safe in those 4 walls. Those types of things. But man, I just miss the competition, like you said. There is just nothing like that feeling for me, anyways. Pro ball is such a grind. It's 140 games, or at that time, it's 140 games in like 52 days, including the All-Star break.
Hang on, let's give that perspective. College baseball is like 56 games, and I don't even know what. 3
You play 2 midweeks,
4 months, 2 midweeks,
and then the weekend.
Sometimes
series.
only 1, and then every 3 Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
There's sometimes like in a full season you'd go. Sometimes I would say 15, 16, 17 days with no off day.
That's
with
heavy.
Travel in between because you're playing 3 and 4 game series. So every 3 or 4 days you're either a new team's coming in if you're on a homestand or you're obviously traveling to them. So
it's heavy.
It's a grind anyways. But when you have those moments to where. And for me, I still do drink a bunch of caffeine, but I'd be in the bullpen if I was warming up, coming in, I would just crush pre-workout right before I walked in on the mound.
Some days you had to have that though.
I had to have it because you start throwing and you look over at the other guys sitting there and they're like, that didn't come out very hot. That curveball didn't curve. Yeah. Well, you throw like 82 today. Yeah. Like you need to get the ball down.
As we would call it 80 poo.
Yeah, literally. Like you have some, especially the Latin guys because they all throw like 100.
Oh yeah.
You get up there and you're like, how'd that look? And they're like,
not very good, white boy.
Work on your curveball. Yeah. You know what I mean? But you get out there, the manager hands you the ball, and I can't repeat it what my manager in Lansing used to always tell me, but basically don't screw it up. Yeah. That was my favorite. Because if it was a tight situation,
like, all right,
7th inning, 8th inning, I wasn't the closer, so I'd be in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning. Be a 1 or 2 run game, guys on base. Don't screw it up.
Right
just
on.
hand me the ball and just walk off.
I'll try my best, Coach.
Okay, so because it got me back to kind of centered up, you know what I mean? Yeah. That feeling when you toe the rubber and you're looking down 60 feet 6 inches away, and that dude's over there trying to make it to the big leagues too as a hitter, like just that preparation and competition, like you just can't replicate it. And like you said, it can be there could be 10 people in the stands in Bluefield, West Virginia. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
just different, man.
It's
And
not even a
obviously,
baseball
that's
team
like
anymore.
that makes it even icing on the cake when you're like a big SEC game, or I think about Georgia and
in the
Mississippi
minor
State.
leagues, it was always like the 4th of July games.
Yeah,
so like they would sell out
crazy.
those stadiums. Even Vancouver was great because Vancouver was a short season team at the time. It's now a full season team, but then it was short season, and it held probably, I want to say like 9,000 or 10,000. They sold out every home game, and the way that their stands were set up, it felt like they were right on the field. So every one of those games was
That's
just
how Southern
electric.
Miss was. Southern Miss, and that was some of the cool things about college baseball when you travel. I mean, we didn't have great fans. Like, it just
No, minor leagues didn't either.
Dude, I mean, like, if it's like your parents are there, your grandparents are there, and you'd be lucky if your girlfriend was in the stands, you know.
But to that point, like, that taught me how to grind. Like,
that's it.
You're riding a bus with your boys, so everybody's working for the same goal, trying to get the big leagues. We're trying to win ball games, but like, you're ultimately trying to get the big leagues because you're trying to get a contract, feed your family.
It'd be easy to wake up every day and be like, okay, and I'm not saying like the SEC guys and all stuff, it was easy for them to like get up for games, but like,
it's different.
You had to like mentally get up and be like, especially as pitchers, as relievers, we'd be on every day. It's kind of like position guys.
The only time you had a day off was if you threw like 3 innings a day before.
You'd be kind of thankful too. You'd be like, all right, I know I at least get one.
I'll never forget it. We were in Spokane, Washington, and it was the first inning. And in the first couple innings, anybody that knows baseball knows in the bullpen, it's just clowns down there in the first couple innings. Everybody's screwing around. Nobody's paying attention until the 4th, 5th inning, unless somebody gets in trouble.
Sure.
But nobody's paying attention to the 4th or 5th because you're just waiting for the starter to either come out or whatever. So they called down in the first inning. Dude's struggling, throwing the ball all over the place, and we're like, oh, no. He calls me to get up in the first inning. I was like, oh, no. And I didn't feel good. My arm hurt, all those things. You're just groaning and complaining from a long season. And I go in, that's the best outing I had all year. Threw like 4 innings and got everybody. It was just terrible. But to the point of that is like those moments like are what taught me how to grind. Like you're in those dog days. There's nobody there, like in the stands. It's not a big game. You're not making any money, but you know the goal's there.
We use the same mentality today.
100%. And that's what I'm saying. Like all these like nights, like when I was working at Stoodles, like trying to build up my clientele, work until 10, 11, 12 at night, didn't bother me. That was nothing. Like it makes sense. Like I'm not scared of the work. And that's what I think
I'm supposed to be doing.
That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And then when I left there, I was on my own for the first year. It's all on me.
Yep.
And like that, shouldering that doesn't bother me.
That's a different, and let's hit on that too. That's a different sense of pressure too.
It is.
When it's like, you eat what you kill.
Yeah.
Like,
you don't eat.
You don't eat.
And your kids don't eat.
But you can't, you've always taught me this well, and everyone around you, that you can't make it about that though. It's got to be client first, because they can't ever feel that.
But you think about it. You've been in a situation where you're just trying to be sold.
That's it.
You smell that all over.
You smell it as soon as they walk in the door.
That's it. So people will feel that. And that's in any type of relationship. That's in a business setting. If you're just trying to get something from the other person, they're going to feel that.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
And so having that, and that's to another point though, like that's why being the number one, I don't think is for everyone.
Sure.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own path to carve if they're in the right environment, right? How would you say that being a father has changed your mentality in general, but in business at all, just as a man in general?
You look at life differently, especially when you got a girl.
Yep.
It's different. We kind of hit on that a little bit a couple days ago at that roundtable about being a dad and the importance of that and like transitioning into that season. But man, it's unmatched. The feeling when you walk in those doors and what's that Luke Combs song, that Front Door Famous or something like that?
Front Door Famous.
I think of that song all the time because it's like, man, like I don't care what took place that day at work. I could have the worst or the best day ever.
Doesn't matter.
Nothing matters when you walk in those doors and you see her greeting you with arms up and Allie's in there. It's just, it's different. So it's changed my perspective on how I go about my day, and especially with work.
Sure.
You're not just working for yourself and your wife now. You're working to provide for your family.
100%.
So you are the provider. You are expected of, and so pressure is a privilege in 100%. That capacity. So
absolutely.
And if you get scared of that, then it can be a challenge.
100%.
But you have to walk into that with open arms and understand the significance of it. But the importance and what people are counting on you for.
I think you have to dive into it and embrace it because not only are you the provider, like you're expected of, all those things are completely valid, but like there's so much, in my opinion, that comes from fulfilling those things.
Yes.
You get so much out of fulfilling your duties as a father in the household that you can't put on paper.
Can't.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's hard to even explain it to
you can't, and you can't explain the love either. That's
No.
a different type of love that a father has for his children. But I think that so many men miss the boat on what could come from them fulfilling their obligations as a dad.
Sure.
I think a lot of guys just kind of take the back seat to the mom.
Yeah.
And
Naturally,
rightfully so,
just
because good moms have their place,
That's it.
and they do so many things that a man could never do
Sure.
for a child. But I think they just kind of like ride those coattails a little bit,
Yeah.
instead of just like stepping alongside and like, let me fulfill what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really, really big missed opportunity that so many men do, young and old. It's not just, young fathers or old
And
fathers
that's
or
just
whatever.
natural.
It is.
Yeah.
Because, mama bear is mama bear.
That's it.
And you have to respect that, of course.
And usually moms are around the kids more,
100%.
so to speak, especially
Yeah.
the growing population of stay-at-home moms.
And so I would just encourage, like, you having a young daughter and any other, like, dad specifically, like, you got to lean into those things. Even the stuff that you may not want to do, the messy stuff, whatever, like, there's so much, I think, that comes from that.
Well, that child
guys
is
miss
relying
out
on. I mean, think about it. You're responsible for 3 children.
Yeah.
Like, they rely on you to
Period.
live. You know what I'm saying? So if you like break it down to its
Sure.
core, so those kids rely on you to eat, sleep, breathe, everything. So it's again, the pressure is the privilege.
That's it. And I like I said, I think it's so important that men just understand that they've got to just lean into that. What's next for you? What's on your sights? What's in your vision? You're a forward thinker. Like, what's at the forefront of your brain? I know we've got some real estate stuff
Sure.
that we've got that's going to be hopefully sold in the next little bit and that sort of thing. What's at the forefront of your brain?
For me, it's kind of how I can grow, and I've already made this a career with when I think about job. For
Sure.
me, what's next? But how can I make it even better? It's nothing that, in terms of something new, I don't have anything new in mind. It's
I don't really either.
it's just, for me, it's just growing and being the best possible advisor and accountant that I can possibly be.
Sure.
And how do I grow that, and how do I sharpen my skill set? Because you're either learning or growing, and you either get better or worse.
That's
You
right.
don't ever stay the same. So it's how can I like carve out the time to make sure that I'm reaching my goals. We always talk about annual goals
Yep.
and how we track those, and it's one of my favorite things because we always sit down and like, okay, what are you going after this year? And it's the accountability aspect of it, but it's also too like we realize the importance of it, and it's fun to go after it together.
Yep, 100%.
Even though they could be totally different.
Yeah.
And what they're in, like the podcast for you, like that was one of your vision, and so cool to see that. But for me personally, man, it's just improving what I feel like I'm already good at.
Sure.
And then and growing that and amplifying it, and then and just making sure that I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing every day and go with it with that approach.
Yeah, because from the accountability standpoint, you can look back and say, okay, well, I had these goals. Now, what did I do to move myself toward those,
That's
or
it.
did I do enough to move myself toward
and
those?
that's too. And we think about some of the goals, and I've surpassed some of the bigger goals that
Yeah.
I've had for myself this year. Thankfully, but. And that's to your point, is like you kind of always smile like, man, I told you so.
Yeah, that's my
So,
favorite thing to do.
I know.
One of my favorite things, like truly, like this sounds crazy, but I love seeing people that like I care for. I don't want to say that they don't think highly enough of themselves, but
Sure.
like I see things
The
in them
ability,
that they
yeah.
can do, but they may not see it fully. And so it's like, I love pushing that along.
I'm appalled. I think that is literally, if Mark Biggs had, like, if you could label his best attribute, like your best quality is that right there.
Thank you.
Of like to be able to pull out, like you literally like people gravitate towards you because they know that you're going to give them, you make everyone feel like they're the most important person in the room, but you pull the best out of everybody that's around you. So I want to make sure everybody knows that, people that know that or know that.
Thank you.
But I think that's your best quality, dude.
I appreciate that.
And you just have this gift for motivating, because I think about the situation with my wife, Allie. You motivated her to get out of the corporate world and to step into something that she was like, okay, maybe I can do this, and you give people that sense of hope. So I think that I want to make sure that the people that don't know you personally know that.
Well, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. But
sure.
It's been super humbling for me to see, the success that you've had, Jamel's had, in just the short amount of time that you guys have been with me like that. It means a lot to me because I have these visions and beliefs in my head, but like I don't take it lightly that I'm taking people's families and their livelihoods into consideration when I make these types of decisions. Because for me, if it's about me and my family, I'm always just going to make the decision, and if I made the wrong decision, make another decision.
That's it.
To correct it, right?
To
Always
fix it.
heard
And
a
then
long
you could
time
have made
ago.
two bad decisions, but that's what I want people to know too. Like you as the leader of our firm, people don't see the stuff and decisions that you make that we see every day, and some of the stuff we don't even see.
Yeah.
But people, I want people to know kind of the gut checks that you have to make for yourself, the tough decisions.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of tough decisions to make within what you do, and so you wear that, and you don't let people see it.
No.
And that's what you talk about, the number ones. Like that's some of the stuff that it takes for people to go out and do what they want to do and reach those goals. But you also have to have the right mindset behind it.
You do, because I mean the stresses and the decisions that I'm faced with. Number one, I'm grateful for, because this is what I've wanted.
Yeah.
So like I can't.
It comes with the territory.
It does, and so I can't want the things that I want for myself and also not have these tough things too.
Yeah.
But to your point, great leaders, in my opinion, can stomach those things, not just bottle them up, which I think is not a flaw of mine, but I do it too much.
Sure.
Like I just wear it.
You just put it on your shoulders. You're like, I got it.
I got it.
Yeah.
I'll deal with
Just add
it.
it on. Yeah.
You know, come on. Like I got big shoulders. We'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Like no problem. But I'm getting better at that, I think, from where I was
No,
before.
for sure.
But at the same time, a main thing for me is not letting the people around me feel that, because it's not their stress to feel.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a critical thing that I really take into consideration when I'm trying, because there's times where one of y'all will walk in my office and in my mind I'm like, I just want to spew all over this wall.
Yeah.
And some days I'm just like, I'm uptight and I'm angry. Like
Sure.
a lot of it comes from just
What
different
you're dealing
things.
with or whatever.
There's grief involved from dad passing away that's deep rooted, that just some days it's just like that.
It just hits you.
So there's some days where, y'all will walk in and it's, you didn't do anything. But in my mind, I'm like, you're the first person in front of me. I just want to just yell.
Yeah.
So, but I can't let y'all feel that.
No, sure.
Because that's not your fault.
Well,
just because I had to make these stresses and these 56 decisions before, that's what I signed up for.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
And it'd be easy for you to and the decisions that you make, that's what I respect about you so much as a friend, a brother, business partner, work together. You make sure that it's a good fit for everybody. Yeah. You never you're the most selfless person I know. Me and Allie talk about that all the time. You make sure that, okay, if I make this decision, you don't just think about yourself and your situation, your home life. You think about Jamel and Bailey, and you think about me and Allie, Taylor. And so you make sure that whatever you're making a decision for your firm, that it's a best fit and best case scenario.
Because it affects other people.
That's it.
And I think even people that are in positions of leadership.
But dude, how easy it'd be to be like, I should maybe I'll just go this way. You know what I mean? So it's
just one of those things. That'd be a gut check for me. Like I couldn't sleep at night knowing that I made a decision that was going to affect all the people around me without either considering them, or if it really, really, really affected them, having a conversation with them
for sure. Before,
whether it was a decision that they liked or not. Like, I need to make you aware. You know what I mean?
And that's how that builds trust too.
100%.
So the next person that comes on, like they get a vibe real quick of how we operate, and how you operate.
It's just a family there, and I think that's one of the biggest blessings that I have, is being able to go to that type of environment every single day and see that come to life, and y'all flourish in what y'all are doing. That's just been
it never feels like a day of work.
No, it really don't.
People probably think we cut up all the time, which we do, but man, when good and well, like when we talk about business, dude, we talk about business. It's if you drummed it up how much, it's time to work. Usually. So.
Well, I feel like this has been a great conversation. I hope everyone that listens to this gets something out of it. I'll just publicly again say thank you.
Yeah, man.
I'm so proud of you, and I appreciate your friendship. I love you like a brother, and I'm very proud of you, and happy that I get to work with you every day, and glad you did this.
Likewise, man. I appreciate the opportunity. I can't wait to see this thing take off. I know it's gonna continue to grow. You know how much I think about you, how much I love you. And all that you do for me personally, but your friendship most importantly. So I love 100%. You, man. You know that.
Love you too. Thank you all for the tuning in today, and I hope you got something from this, and we'll be back. Talk soon. See you.